welcome to Full Frontal. I'm Samantha B. Believe it or not, we're almost halfway through this weird-ass year. In fact, Sunday doesn't just mark the start of summer, it's also Father's Day. That special day when you spend $30 to $50 less than you did on your mom. Because it's been 35 years and you still don't know who he is or what he likes. Speaking of dudes who've let us down over the years, Republicans are celebrating their fun in the sun by melting down over yet another bullshit made-up controversy.
Parents and common-sense Americans are pushing back against the destructive far-left critical race theory ideology that's infiltrating America's schools.
This as parents across the country fight to keep critical race theory out of their children's classrooms.
We all keep hearing about critical race theory.
Yeah, you keep hearing about critical race theory because you keep talking about it, which means you hear about it more, which means you talk about it more because everything sucks. Outrage from stories like this are Fox's main source of income after ads for reverse mortgages and a life-size theme park of Noah's Ark, which is a real advertiser on Fox News. You know, I tried having my honeymoon there, but wouldn't you believe it? It rained like the whole time. While conservatives have recently appropriated critical race theory as a catch-all scare term for basically any conversation about teaching the history of race in America, the actual concept of it has been around for decades, and big surprise, it's really not scandalous at all.
In short, critical race theory is an approach based on the idea that the history of white supremacy still has a very real and lasting impact on our society and institutions today.
Critical race theory just says, let's pay attention to what has happened in this country and how what has happened in this country is continuing to create differential outcomes so we can become that country that we say we are.
The current debate and conservative hand-wringing about critical race theory started in 2019 when the New York Times published the 1619 Project, which aimed to reframe the country's history by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the center of our national narrative. Unfortunately, that Pulitzer-winning journalism failed to take into account the feelings of one truly oppressed group: racist dildos.
Highly paid diversity trainers systematically attack the unifying ideals of this country. They pit Americans against each other based on the color of their skin. It is a grotesque project. It is wrong. It is openly racist.
Ron DeSantis writing, Florida's education system exists to create opportunity for our children. Critical race theory teaches kids to hate our country and to hate each other.
You're emotionally abusing our children and mentally abusing them. You're demoralizing them by teaching them communist values. And as long as I'm standing here on this good ground earth of God, I will fight. And this is not the last of me you will see. I'm retired. I have nothing else better to do.
I am here because this is important. I am here because this is an outrage. I am here because I am very bored. Help me fill my days. All this nonsensical outrage does have real consequences. 5 Republican-led state legislatures have passed laws limiting discussion of race in schools, and conservatives in over a dozen other states are considering similar measures. But because Republicans don't actually give a shit what critical race theory is, much of the legislation against it is so vague that teaching the Civil War, Trail of Tears, and even civil rights could be considered a violation. In fact, it's so bad in Texas that educators are now only legally allowed to teach history from the About Us section on a bottle of hot sauce. Naturally, none of this has anything to really do with education, history, or saving the children. Scare tactic wedge issues like these have been a political strategy since the birth of democracy. Republicans have spent decades turning fear-based politics into an art form, from Richard Nixon's Law and Order platform to George H.W. Bush's Willie Horton ad to Ronald Reagan starting that whole "you can get pregnant from a toilet seat" thing. Aw, thanks for watching. If you'd like to hear more from Full Frontal, hit subscribe and visit our page for more videos. Or if you'd like to be radicalized, leave YouTube on autoplay.